All right, so we're going to get our environment set up before we start coding, and there's a few things that you're going to need. So one is a text editor, and I'm sure that if you've been coding for any amount of time, you probably have a preference, and that's fine. You can use whatever you want. We'll be using Visual Studio Code in this course, and that's definitely what I would recommend. It's very intuitive, it's very fast and easy to use, has really great extensions. I'll also be using a couple extensions, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And it's cross-platform, so you can use it on Windows, Mac, or Linux. I'm not going to go through the installation or anything. It's very self-explanatory. So you also need Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime, and it comes with NPM, which is Node Package Manager, which is what we'll be using to install Create React App, which is the command line interface for React to generate applications. We'll also be using it to install a couple smaller packages later on in the course. So just go ahead and download it. You can grab either the long-term support version or the latest. I usually grab the latest, but just download that and install it. And then I'd also recommend Git, which is a version control system. Chances are you have it on your machine if you've been doing any development for any amount of time. If you're on Windows, this also comes with a tool called Git Bash, which is a much better terminal to use on Windows rather than the standard command line. It has some Unix-based tools, and it's just overall just a better terminal. So I would suggest using that if you're on Windows, but again, it's completely up to you. And then as far as browser tools, we're going to be using the React Developer Tools. So you want to get that installed. It allows you to see your React components and see your properties and state associated with each component, things like that. And then we're also going to use the Redux Dev Tools when we get into Redux later on, which shows you your application state, shows you all your actions, stuff like that. So you just get that stuff installed, and then you should be ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is just go into VS Code and kind of show you what I'm working with. So I'm going to click on the extensions icon here. And basically there's just 4 extensions that I have installed for this course. So the first is Bracket Pair Colorizer. Nothing to do with React. It's just a nice little extension that colorizes your brackets, curly braces, and parentheses, so you don't get confused. Like for instance, this function you can see has purple curly braces. The nested if statement has blue, so it just keeps track of your brackets and curly braces. And it's just something that I use all the time that I recommend. But again, you don't have to use any of this stuff. And then this is a React specific extension. Actually, it's for React, Redux, GraphQL, and React Native, and it just includes a bunch of different snippets to like import stuff, to create React components, whether it's functional components or class-based. There's stuff for prop types, for GraphQL. It's just a really great extension for just quick development and quick coding. And I'm not going to use it that much because I don't want to just put in a bunch of abbreviations. I want you guys to see me type things out so that you can really understand and grasp it, but I will use it a little bit when things get excessive. Live server is something that we're not going to use too much. It's basically for like static HTML files to load in the browser, and it gives you auto refresh. When we do the ES6 refresher, we're going to use this, but aside from that, we're not really going to deal with this. But it's just an overall general suggestion for VS Code that I use all the time, not necessarily with React. And then we have Prettier, which is a code formatter, and I'm going to have it set up so that when I save my files, it auto formats it. So it'll set it up nicely. It'll align everything. And this is in JSX. This is in regular JavaScript. Works in HTML, CSS. It's a really great extension. And if you miss a semicolon or something, it'll add it on when you save it. But there is a setting that you need to add if you want it to do that, and I'm going to show you that. Okay, so those are the extensions that I'll be using in this course. And if we go to the settings, you can either do Command or Control comma. That'll bring you to the settings, or you can go to the little gear down here and go to settings. And basically in VS Code, you just have basically a big JSON file with all your settings, and then this is the custom settings if you want to change anything. So like files.autosave, if I wanted to turn this on, I could click the little pencil here and I could change it to any of these options like after delay, and it'll put it over here, and then I just got a Control or Command S to save the file. Okay, but I don't want that, so I'm going to get rid of it. But the only settings that I would recommend here for you guys are the editor.format unsaved. That's what I was talking about. So if you go over here and you search for editor, let's say editor.format, and it should come up here somewhere. Let's say format right here, and it's false by default, so you'd have to just click this and click true, and then it'll put it over here and set it to true, and then just save, Control S or Command S, and that will make it so that when you save your files, it'll automatically format things, make things look nicely, and also match mine. That's the great thing about it, is it'll make your code look like mine, and it'll make things easier for you. So the other thing that I want to recommend are these two. So Emmet is a great tool for writing fast HTML. So you can just put in like h1.test, and it'll give you an h1 tag with the class of test. And in order to use this in JSX, which is what React uses, and I'm going to talk about JSX later, so don't worry if you don't know what that is. But in order to use Emmet basically within React, you want to add this stuff here. So Emmet.included languages. If you search for it over here, Emmet.included languages, it's going to be just empty. So if you click this and replace in settings, it'll bring it over, and then you just want to put this in here, JavaScript, and then JavaScript React as the value. And then for syntax profiles, you can do Emmet.syntax profiles, so you bring that over, and then you want to add JavaScript JSX and then JavaScript HTML. I'm not positive if you need this. I think you may. So I had some trouble figuring it out, but this is what I found on Stack Overflow for options. But yeah, this is what I use, and this is what works. So again, editor format on save, and then this Emmet stuff if you want that. Okay, the rest of this stuff is all up to you, what you want for your font size, if you want word wrap on, tab size, anything else you find over here, completely up to you. All right, so now that should get you all set up once you have all that done. And again, you don't have to use VS Code, you don't have to use these extensions, but if you want to follow along basically to a T, then I would recommend it. All right, so that's it, guys. Let's get into the next video.